from the ashram of Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda in Miami, Florida. Today is Saturday, May 26, 2012. And on this beautiful Saturday morning, we are gathered here today on the first day of our 3-day retreat on the Srimad Bhagavatam. And now, commencing the retreat, Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda.
Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness. The forces relate to Kansa. Kansa is avidya, ignorance. Chanura, distractions of the mind, vikshepa, and all related troubles. To that Lord Krishna, who is son of Vasudeva and Devaki, we offer our adorations. Vasudeva. Vasu relates to senses, indriyas. Deva is the God behind those senses. That God is your chitta, the mental stuff. And Krishna is known as Vasudeva. See the difference between your English speaking or American speaking. You don't know which one is Vasudeva, which one is Vasudeva. It's very subtle difference. Vasudeva, A is just short. Vasudeva is a double A. Vas means to abide, to dwell in. That God who dwells in all, he doesn't have his place. Is the indwelling self in all. And the simple name Krishna, let me give you a simple idea. The K term in Krishna, Ka, refers to Kamala Kant. Kamala is Lakshmi Devi. He is the beloved of Lakshmi. Ri is another name for Lakshmi, Rama. The name Krishna enfolds Maya, power of cosmic illusion. And all the Devis are different manifestations of Krishna's power. So the Ri relates to another aspect of the Devi. SH in Krishna relates to sixfold divine attributes. In Sanskrit they are called Bhaga. Therefore, God is known as Bhagavan. The Lord who possesses 6 great qualities in infinite measure. What are they? Aishwarya. Aishwarya is just effulgence. All types of glory. Dharma, righteousness. The whole world is run by a law of goodness. Asato ma sadgamaya. From untruth, lead me to truth. The entire world is planned to remove untruth, falsehood, and lead one to victory, light. The next attribute is Yasha. Yasha means fame, Kirti, Everyone wants to be recognized. Whichever way you are recognized, that principle behind it relates to God. The way you allow God to shine within you, there lies the secret of your fame. So when people are recognizing your fame, they are recognizing God, you see. They don't know it, but it's the God's effulgence emanates from people. You can learn that lesson even from flowers, the flower blossoms. It doesn't have journalists to announce its blossoming. But the fragrance touches and has its subtle process of drawing so many bees, sometimes miles away. That gives you the idea of fame. As you follow the spiritual path, the whole world begins to recognize that you are moving in a positive way. You don't have to worry, whom should I tell? Find some messenger of God, tell him I have been practicing so much. But we don't have to worry. Every flower that blossoms doesn't worry. Automatically, so many bees are drawn. In the same way, as you move towards God realization, you blossom. And that blossoming, you waft a fragrance that touches the heart of all in different degrees. And it is timeless. Next point is Shri. The term Shri is Lakshmi Devi, goddess of prosperity. Everyone wants to be prosperous, rich. Even spiritual attainments are described as enrichment. Real enrichment, if you develop spiritual qualities, you are moving towards God. Next attribute is jnana, knowledge. Of course, you must realize knowledge is not referring to intellectual knowledge. It's intuitional knowledge. Knowledge that is the knowledge, pure awareness. And next attribute is vairagya, absolute dispassion. The entire world is created by God. The sun creates a dazzling day, day by day. It doesn't hold a diary that on January 1st I created so many rainbows. It's absolutely detached. Just to give you an idea. The innermost self in you, God within you, is absolutely detached. That's Bhagavan. SH term relates to Shadavit, Bhaga. NA term relates to Narsingha, God incarnate as a man, lion. As long as you are afraid, fearful, constantly ducking your head down because something is coming upon your head, bleating like a lamb, you are in a state of bondage. When devotion blossoms within you, a Singha aspect arises, lion, no longer a lamb. Narasingha is that mystical incarnation of Lord Vishnu that destroys all that obstructs devotion. That immense potentiality hidden in human being That relates to the term na. And A, Krishna, this little vowel is there. That means Agni Bhuk, which means he is the swallower of fire. The world is full of fire, you see. Even your bodies are known as Deha, Dahyate, Dehalo. Therefore, it's always on fire. And this is dramatized in the Upanishads. You have threefold tapas. And therefore we say 3 times peace chant. Shanti. The first tapa is your body. How you have entered into a strange body? You know nothing about it. And you are always in trouble. You never know how does the body think. But if the body was the only problem, that could be simple. There is a mind, body-mind complex. You are placed in one place, your relatives say to you, now remain relaxed. Absolutely. And you find yourself from an external point of view, you are perfectly relaxed. There's no trouble. But you never know what your body and mind are going to bring about. So there is that big range of trouble every soul faces. It's called subjective trouble, adhyatmika. And if you could deal with the subjective trouble, now you are facing adhibhautic trouble. You settle your things in your family very nice way. Yourself, you are relaxed. But how will things happen in your office? Your boss, people who are competing with you, people who hate you, people who love you. If that was all, that would have been little relaxing. Even on your way, in old times, people traveled. There were snakes and scorpions on the way. These days are bigger snakes. Your whole bus can tap up, go upside down. It's called adhibhautic trouble. If that was all, that would you have adhidaivic trouble. The world is running well, things are going on well with all, there is no war, etc. Of course, war comes within that. The bigger trouble is in the form of suddenly a meteorite decided to visit the earth. Suddenly a hurricane emerged and Lord Hurricane with a cane, mashing up everything. Tsunami, all types of things. No, I shouldn't be tempted to that direction. So I'll just give you the idea. Say Krishna. The very word enfolds all that. And Sanskrit will write Krishna, it will write Krishna. Ah is written by 2 dots. Those 2 dots relate to Nara and Narayana. Krishna manifesting as soul, moving towards God, and as God. Both put into Sanskrit 2 dots. The Sanskrit tradition doesn't waste a single word or letter. Very simple way to give you another interpretation. Every soul is drawn to God. knowing whether you know it or not. God is Satchidananda, existence, knowledge, bliss. And you are constantly going after how to make yourself exist, how to know everything, what's cooking in somebody's kitchen, even that. I'm just making a joke out of it. You want to know everything. And you want to be happy. These threefold inclinations in your mind is movement to, you are drawn to God, you don't know it. And that, like God, like a magnet, is drawing you from life to life. You are just moving on until you step into the right direction to discover God within you. God is the reality. He is Satchidananda. That akarshan is put into a succinct form, Krishna, akarshan, drawing all. Krishna is the essence of the pull, divine pull. Now, without further delay, let me get into the scripture, Bhagavata Purana. This big book you are seeing is only one of the two. You wanted to have the actual experience. It's the 10th section. The earlier sections prepared you to understand the glory of God. We don't have all the time for that. The setting of the Bhagavat is highly allegorical. In the line of the Pandavas, that is, the grandson of Arjuna, famous Arjuna, Parikshit. He was a great king, ruled his kingdom well. Once upon a time, he found himself in a forest, thirsty and dying of hunger. And he approached a hut of forests used to have saints and sages living in them. So he approached the sage, but the sage was practicing in the state of meditation. He asked for water and he didn't hear. Being a king, being insulted by anyone, that's very difficult to bear. Nearby there was a dead snake, like a rope. He lifted it, put it on the neck of the sage. And he went away. The son of a sage, of that sage, came to know that the king had done it, because there were some boys nearby who informed the son. And he immediately pronounced a curse on the king, that may the king be bitten by the snake, a special snake, in 7 days. Jamadagni Rishi, the sage, who is in this story, when he came to know that his son has pronounced a curse, and this son had the capacity to do that, he sent a messenger to the king that though I hold no grudge against you, but it so happened my son cursed you. You are going to die in 7 days. So therefore, prepare yourself. That's the only thing. Parikshit, instead of being very upset about it, he began to use his intellect. What can I do within 7 days to escape, to attain the goal of life. If goal of life can be attained even in 10 days after you are born, your life is successful. Longevity doesn't matter how long you are going to live. That doesn't add up to your happiness. What gives you happiness is how profound you can enter within yourself. So therefore, that was the curse given to him. And Parikshit immediately planned. He asked the sages what would be the remedy, that if you were to hear the greatest scripture composed by sage Vyasa, that brings the glory of Krishna. And it so happened that Vyasa's son, Shuka, came, who was a young man, and he took up the project of narrating to him the story of Krishna. In 7 days, the entire Bhagavata Purana was recited. In the end, he allowed himself to exit the world. Snake did bite him, but he was very happy about it. Rather, at the end, there are different stories. He was asking, where is the snake? And out of the flowers that people had offered, there emerged a little creature, which so turned into a big snake. All these are dramatizations. The idea simply to understand that story relates to every one of you. So don't be too shocked. Everyone is going to die on any one of the 7 days. Some Sunday to Saturday. So that's in the world of relativity. 7 days, within that you are going to exit the body. And if you were to listen to the glory of God, develop devotion, attain enlightenment, then death will not have any poison for you. You exit like a swan exits a big banyan tree by fluttering the wings. You live in the world, but not depending on the world. The birds rest on trees, but not depending upon the trees. The tree may think, oh, I've been sustaining these birds. Birds are sustained by their own wings. When you come to that state of attainment, that you are not depending on the world depends upon you. When you discover you means awareness, pure spirit, the self. Now we are entering into the story. What Shuka, he prepared the mind of King Parikshit and began to focus his attention on the story of Krishna. And that's where my focus is. The story is that in the line of kings, they were called Yaduvanshi. There was a king, Shurasen. He ruled over Mathura. Mathura is modern time, somewhere in UP. You think of Lucknow or state nearby. Mathura term has evolved out of the Sanskrit word madhura. Madhura means sweet. All the story begins from a kingdom that is extremely sweet. Don't use the medical mind. The sweetness of divine love. Just to give you an idea, great devotee Chaitanya, he defines devotion. Sarve rasashcha bhavashcha taranga iva varidhau unmajjanti nibajjanti yatra sa prema sangyaka. That ocean in which all the divine sentiments and delights of your heart rise and fall like surging waves, that's divine love. This aspect is hidden for people who are just following intellectual way of understanding I am Brahman. That process is like mathematics. You just go on following the argument, I am in the waking state, I am in the dream state, therefore physical body I am not. I am in the dream state, I am in the sleep state, therefore astral body I am not. Since I get out of the sleep state, causal body I am not. I am therefore absolute, non-dual. This is the truth taught by scriptures. But what happens? Throughout this your heart remains dry. The Bhakti literature, the Bhagavata Purana, fills in that particular gap, focuses on what happens to your heart. All your experiences are based upon different sentiments. And sometimes you can't compensate one sentiment by another. Even families, parents have different sentiments towards a child, towards different relatives. And that sentiment is unique. All those sentiments, in Krishna's story, they become gopis. They dance with Krishna. And just to understand, the highest attainment is like the ocean of feeling. Your heart has become full. In that, all these rasas, things, sentiments that give you, that tickle your imagination to the divine level, all of them are going in and out. Like surging waves as well as undercurrents. And all are in the enfolded by the ocean. Though there are different sentiments, but they are all ocean. that divine love. Shukadeva, that's Vyasa's son, he praises Parikshit. This idea of yours, of listening to the glory of Krishna, it's extremely beautiful, commendable. By listening to the story of Krishna, you will develop love of God, love of Krishna, in a spontaneous way. This listening process is a source of boundless blessing for one who talks about Krishna's glory, for those who listen to Krishna's glory, and those who ask questions to understand Krishna's glory. Vakta, Shrota, Prashnakarta. Vakta, one who is talking. Bak bak. Shrota, those ears have extended. And Prashnakarta, people who want to understand. As you listen and sometimes something enters, jams your ears, then you have to understand what it is. Countless demons incarnating in the form of great kings had created a tremendous burden upon the earth. The earth goddess, assuming the form of a cow, approached Lord Vishnu, tears in her eyes. By the banks of the milky ocean. You must realize it's an ancient writing and its poetic and allegorical value is immense. Everything is allegorical. The story of any avatara doesn't relate to a time period. It's a story that is for every soul. Your soul is Krishna, your soul is Rama, your soul is Brahman. Therefore, don't imagine, don't put yourself in so many 1,000 years ago that there was a king and how he was and what happened with him. That has no impact upon you. That's a big error people do in religions. People who are devotees of Jesus, constantly looking for more materials to gather about Jesus. Instead, Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within thee. It is not somewhere in the past. It is at present. All the negative qualities that you need to fight against, they are the demons. Ignorance is a demon. Egoism is a son of the demon, or relative of the demon. The world of Maya comes in three grades: Mala, Vikshepa and Avarana. Mala relates to gross impurities of your mind: anger, hate, greed, jealousy, perversions. Vikshepa relates to mind that is constantly shaky, thinking of so many thoughts. Avarana relates to intellect that is veiled by ignorance. Based on these three, you find yourself, your personality abounds with demoniac rule. Even in that setting, led by your good karmas, led by the divine grace, spiritual spark grows, emerges in your heart. That spiritual spark that is going to grow into a mighty divine force. That's Krishna within you. Keep that setting in your mind, and then we will continue. So, that's dramatized. If demons have taken over the world, implying if unrighteousness has gained a tremendous power, and people who are following the path of righteousness, they are being constantly dominated, tortured. This study has two aspects: studying yourself, you are studying humanity. But you should not be overwhelmed by humanity. Be overwhelmed by yourself. Because humanity is a projection. Just like you, there are so many people. And each one has to be guided by their own inner self. Spiritual enlightenment is not a gift. If it is a gift, you won't be satisfied with it. It should be your attainment. Earth goddess that represents the basis of Purushartha. It doesn't relate to the earth planet. But if you do develop that idea, earth planet is a Devi, it's perfectly in harmony with the Hindu culture. There isn't an object which is not indwelt by God. So if you sat down and started worshipping this mic, there will be absolutely nothing wrong about it. As long as you know that all objects, all things, all names and forms are indwelt. All the waves are indwelt by the ocean. All projections in a cinema show are indwelt by the screen. All clouds are indwelt by the sky. All your experiences are indwelt by awareness. So therefore, everything that you perceive has a link with the Absolute. You can worship anything. But why not worship those things that people have already invested in them? They are good sentiments. So in other words, when sages have brought about certain symbols in a special way, think of God as a lotus. Think of spiritual ascent like a swan soaring up in the high. You can as well think of a mole rising up into the sky. But why should you do that? So there is a practical point. Everywhere, the entire universe is nothing but God. But then you allow your mind to follow those symbols that have been already authenticated by sages. With that understanding, the symbols are only to help you, you go beyond. And all the gods joined in that complaint when Earth goddess went to Lord Vishnu, complaining about the great havoc created by demoniac forces. All the gods joined in, and along with gods, Brahma, the creator, they all offered prayers to Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu gave them his word that he is going to incarnate. And along with him, his Yogamaya will also incarnate. So let all gods enter into human embodiments to support the divine Leela. When God comes, he will have his friends, associates, relatives, and all of them will be gods. You may say, what a wonderful. But the situation is the same. All your setting is God's. Your father is God, your mother is God, your relatives are gods. God is the essence, the reality in all souls. And the demon aspect is there, blended in every personality. And your goal is to allow Krishna to grow within you. And with that in mind, learn to face all types of challenges and experience the lofty states of devotion and wisdom. Kansa is a demoniac king. He is son of Ugrasen. Ugrasen was the king of Mathura. And he was a gentle and good king. But his son became demoniac. And the son's name is Kansa. Gradually, Kansa began to gain power. Kansa's cousin was Devaki, daughter of King Devaka. King Devaka was a relative of Ugrasen's father. And it was time, it was so arranged that Devaki is going to marry Vasudeva, who is also a royalty. Kansa loved Devaki, his sister, cousin sister, and he allowed himself to be a chariot driver, chariot that will hold Vasudeva and Devaki at the commencement of their marriage. Of course, the marriage ceremony took place in the royal assembly, and then both entered the chariot and Kansa began to drive the chariot. Let me give you a subtler implication. I've already explained to you Vasudeva, father of Krishna. He relates to chitta, the mental stuff, the unconscious mind. That unconscious mind has to be wedded to a special type of understanding called mati. Mati is, your unconscious can give rise to sumati, kumati. Sumati means a good inclination or bad inclination. Your unconscious is a source. So Vasudeva is in that level. But once he marries Devaki, Devaki is positive. Her father's name Devak. The word Deva means one who is always ready to give. De term, dena, dan, Sanskrit term, giving. But will not push the gift to you in your hand. You have to think of so many people are lined up with their gifts. And you are looking at them, you don't know. They are ready, they are eager. Suddenly your eyes meet with the eyes of someone. And then you get that gift. You need to, another word is varan karna. You choose the God. As your mind chooses the God, you want turn to God for wealth. So you have chosen Lakshmi Devi. You want to turn to God for knowledge. You chose Saraswati Devi. They have been all sitting for you. To give you a very practical example, the sun god is waiting for you. He's right at the door. But only when you open the door, sun will come very softly. That term Deva. And it is the daughter of that Devaka. So Devaki is that principle of generosity, charity. That emanates from the highest, deepest level within you, based on your good karmas from the past. So Vasudeva is going to marry Devaki. If divine movement has to develop within you, change has to occur in your deepest level. And ignorance, the role of ignorance is to keep you always away from a project that will give you liberation. But at this stage, Kansa doesn't know it. Kansa begins to drive the chariot. In spite of the ignorance dominating you, you begin to move forward in divine plan. But then, there has to be a clear statement. You must come to a state of understanding that Kansa is not your friend. Or other way around, Kansa needs to understand that they are not his friend. They are going to produce someone who will kill him. But there is no rush. So as this chariot goes, there is a aerial voice, Akashvani. Gods communicate with people. Sometimes the communication is in the form of whole group of people listen to that sound. So we have in the old Bible and many other places. Sometimes it is deep within your heart and you listen to the voice of conscience. But here is a dramatization. The voice comes. Everyone listens. The voice said, Kansa, the eighth child of Devaki and Vasudeva, will destroy you. The moment he heard this, he unsheathed his sword. All the time he was saying very soft words to his sister. But now no longer that mamata aspect, that affectionate relationship. And he caught a hold of the hair. Hairs are the suvasanas, you see. Pure impressions of the mind. The demoniac aspect within it catches that hair. With sword in his hand, he wanted to destroy Devaki. Immediately Vasudeva pleaded, he said. First he tried to give him some philosophical idea, but Kansa didn't hear that. And he said, well, it's the eighth son who will kill you. Then why do you have to kill her? Each time a baby is born, you count them. Come to the eighth. I will give you each time a baby is born in your hand. The story goes that in the beginning, Kansa became relaxed, but later he became strict. He put Vasudeva and Devaki in prison so that there could not be any error in counting the babies. First baby came and Kansa killed. And now we'll be holding off. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.